Andor has one of the most immersive storylines in the Star Wars universe, but recently the series has dropped one of Star Wars' wildest Easter eggs, so you must have a lot of questions, starting with what the details are. Well, you're in the right place, because we have all the answers. Keep watching this video to find out all the deets. First off, let's talk about the wildest Easter egg. Andor is so refreshing because it doesn't feel like a regular Star Wars show. Well, there's a very popular character arriving on the scene and exclaiming, "Look, Star Wars!" And almost out of nowhere, the fourth spectacular episode dropped one of the most critical, absurdly deep-cut canonizations this Star Wars era has ever seen. Aldhani quickly picks up where Andor's three-part premiere left off. Cassian and Luthen are racing away from the planet Ferrix, and the latter pushes the former into taking up a whole new mission on the namesake planet. Before the two halves, Luthen gives Cassian reassurance, both a symbolic down payment for the gig and a request that he return from it to deliver the present to someone. It's a necklace decorated with a massive blue crystal, which is Kyber, the crystalline valuable resource vital to both Jedi and Sith, as well as the Death Star's super weapon projects in Andor's future. But it's not the Kyber that's hiding the Easter egg here. Andor casually dropped the first explicit Disney-era reference to a deep cut element of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic canon. Unlike Star Wars' recent sentimental, cameo-laden self-references, it's the kind of thing that most viewers will entirely miss. But for those who are familiar with it, it comes as a complete surprise. Moving on, who were the Rakatans? The Rakata originally debuted in the 2003 BioWare video game Knights of the Old Republic, a beloved Star Wars game that is set to be lavishly remade in the future. They are an ancient species of cone-headed, fish-eyed aliens who are the OG designers of the Starforge, which is a giant automated manufacturing complex that, using the power of a star and the Force itself, could constantly churn out fleets and armies of droids to wage war with. And when we say ancient, we mean it. KOTOR takes place around 4,000 years before the Star Wars films, while the Rakata lived about 30,000 years before that. The Rakata are thought to be the first species in the galaxy to discover hyperspace travel, and were the masters of scientific prowess to a level that would be unthinkable even in present Andor. They were not only skilled with machinery, but also with the Force, having learned of its powers from a similar ancient race known as the Qua, but abandoning their balanced teachings to simply tap into the destructive force of the dark side. And it was a mix of their mechanical talent and this spiritual capacity that fueled every element of Rakatan culture that made their technology so powerful. The Rakatans, on the other hand, were power-hungry jerks who exploited their sophisticated technology and Force mastery to build the Infinite Empire. They were merciless galactic masters, enslaving entire species to create their war engines, wiping off entire planetary ecosystems to terraform as they saw fit. Following up, have the Rakatans been mentioned in the Star Wars canon before? Andor could very well be the first time the Rakata has been explicitly mentioned on screen. However, this is not the first time they have appeared in the Disney era of Star Wars rebooted canon. In the years since Disney purchased Lucasfilm, bits and pieces of history and facts from both Knights of the Old Republic and its sequel, The Sith Lords, have made their way into the contemporary canon, and for the Rakata and the Infinite Empire, things have been considerably hazier. Rakata Prime was referenced on the map of the known galaxy in the Force Awakens visual guide. Additionally, Lahan and the Rakata were identified as the galaxy's first hyperspace-capable race. In 2015, a licensed model-making magazine to build the Millennium Falcon was launched. The species has also been mentioned in Fantasy Flight's Star Wars role-playing game sourcebooks, which are only loosely canonical. The Infinite Empire symbology has also shown on screen, though it was never explicitly labeled as such. A small treasure described in the film's accompanying visual guide is a Wraith Box, a piece of Rakatan technology that appears in the MMORPG Star Wars The Old Republic. It is one of the valuables in Dryden Voss's collection in Solo, A Star Wars Story. Meanwhile, the Infinite Empire's insignia, a design resembling the hexagonal bipyramid structure of the Starforge itself, makes a brief cameo in Star Wars Rebels' second season. Lastly, what does this mean for Andor? There is nothing, and that's fantastic. Well, presumably Luthen still wants his necklace once Cassian finishes his job, but that's about as high as the stakes in this metaphor get. The Rakata are long dead and gone by the time of Andor, thus they're not going to appear. As we have stated, this is the ideal kind of quick Star Wars indulgence. It is something that will fly past the head of a casual viewer as mere background fluff, but something that will send a very specific type of Star Wars fans' eyebrows into the upper atmosphere. That's fantastic. Not every Star Wars reference has to be a thing, or a foreshadowing of much more apparent links or repercussions. The galaxy far, far away is intended to be massive. Plus, Plus, it can tolerate having some texture for the sake of texture, while linking back to its old past. Someone gets Stellan goddamn Skarsgård to utter Rakatten on TV in 2022, and whether that makes you want to travel back in time 20 years to blast your younger self's brain wide open, or it means nothing to you, even after all it's been explained. It's just neat. There is nothing more or less. Now, onto some other related news. First up, Andor only works if Cassian is a rogue. Cassian Andor first appears in Rogue One, a Star Wars story, when he murders a contact after receiving important information. He first appears in Andor amid a sleazy brothel. Soon after, he is compelled to murder 2 Pre-Mor officers. The Star Wars universe has its fair share of anti-heroes, but Cassian's edges haven't been smoothed down. In Andor, we watch how a rogue outlaw discovers his inner courage and grows into the type of hero who is willing to give his life for a greater cause. Andor is without a doubt the darkest Star Wars concept we've seen from Disney+, and not only because Cassian is a more cruel protagonist. There is a sense of helplessness among the civilians of the galaxy who live under the Galactic Empire's iron grasp. The Star Wars franchise is continuously returning to the theme of hope. On the other hand, Cassian has no reason to trust in something greater. He's only looking out for himself because he knows no one can be trusted. Up next, Andor finally explores the morality of droids. Droids have long played important roles in the Star Wars world. They brought Luke and Leia onto the planet, transported Death Star schematics to a hidden Jedi hermit, and acted as translators during galactic-level diplomatic negotiations. But Star Wars has never depicted the vulnerability of aging inside the framework of a droid. B2EMO has been a lifelong friend of the Andor family, and it appears that connection has continued into his senior years. There is substantial evidence that B2EMO's apparent decline is more than the accumulation of years. In various ways, the series has focused on shifting the perspective of the Star Wars galaxy from the upper echelons to the rank and file. B2EMO is unique in that he's portrayed as a family member. His position as an elder droid statesman may have more to do with class and luxury than with orbits around the sun. And finally, Andor exposes the impact of colonialism through the Empire. On Andor, the plot is quickly thickening. After wrapping up the stunning first arc in the 3rd episode, the new Star Wars program is carefully establishing the groundwork for Cassian to someday become the skilled rebel spy we know from Rogue One, a Star Wars story. The series' entire tone is overtly political, highlighting the chasm that exists between the strength of the Galactic Empire and its subjects, as well as how profoundly affected regular people's lives are under an authoritarian rule. Star Wars is best when it uses genuine aspects from our world as storylines. It was the case with the original trilogy and its parallel to the Vietnam War. The prequels attacked the Iraq War, and even the sequels addressed the growth of fascist forces decades later. Andor is now carrying on this tradition by delving into one of the techniques that changed our society into what it is today, colonialism. The show emphasizes this topic throughout the 4 episodes aired so far, but especially in the 4th, Aldhani, the Empire colonizes worlds, explores them to the point of exhaustion, and then abandons them to their luck after draining them of their resources. That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts on Andor dropping one of Star Wars' wildest Easter eggs? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.